Mr. President, today is May 1st. For many students, this is college decision day, about the time when they have to commit for next year's school year to pave a pathway for a better future. For Chicagoan Lakeisha Howard Williams, a straight-A student who dreamed of attending college to pursue art, this was certainly the case. Lakeisha was accepted to a nonprofit college outside of Chicago, but she decided to move back home and transfer to a community college near her home. Sadly, her parents lost their home during the 2008 recession, and shortly after she moved back, her father passed away. Lakeisha's family was struggling, and she eventually left community college to go to work. But after some time in a low-paying job without a college degree, Lakeisha decided to go back to school to finish her education. However, her family could not afford to send her to a prestigious arts college. As she began researching scholarships, Lakeisha was flooded with brochures for a for-profit college, the Illinois Institute of Art. Mr. President, I don't have to tell you that that is a term and a name that is close to the actual Illinois Art Institute, which is a well-known and respected institution. But this Illinois Institute of Art was a lot different. After being heavily pursued by the Illinois Institute of Art, Lakeisha applied to it. They accepted her within days of her application and immediately encouraged her to take out student loans. This was the first sign of foul play. Her family was hesitant to see their daughter assume this kind of debt, but the school assured her it would be, quote, well worth it, close quote. So she took out the loans so she could enroll in this phony Illinois Institute of Art. Although disappointed by the quality of her instructors and coursework, she was determined she was going to finish and get a degree. But as the weeks went by, more and more red flags appeared. In 2017, an organization called Dream Center bought the school and promised an even better education, but things didn't improve for Lakeisha. Then the school's president left suddenly, and the staff disappeared. The final red flag: the school lost its accreditation, something it hid from the students for 6 months. Then it suddenly announced it was going to close at the end of the year. Lakeisha was able to transfer, but before moving to a better quality school, she estimates she would have more than $70,000 in student loans from the Illinois Institute of Art. Unfortunately, Lakeisha is far from the only student who's been duped and deceived by the predatory for-profit college industry. For years, for-profit colleges have lined their pockets at the expense of students and taxpayers. These organizations mislead students into enrolling in programs that offer low-quality instruction, substandard job prospects, non-transferable course credits, and a worthless degree. Even more sickening, they deliberately target the most vulnerable: low-income students, first-generation students, veterans, students of color. They go after them with aggressive marketing tactics and promises of well-paying jobs. I'm going to give you two numbers, Mr. President. I warn you in advance that these two numbers are both going to be on the final, so listen carefully. Although for-profit colleges enroll only 8% of America's college students, they account for 30% of federal student loan defaults. 8% of the students, 30% of the student loan defaults. How does this happen? Well, after aggressively marketing themselves, for-profit colleges pressure students to take on as much debt as possible to pay for courses that would cost far less at a community college or even a four-year university. And once students enroll and are on the hook for huge amounts of debts, the schools provide low-quality education and little support. If they manage to graduate, students end up with degrees that are practically worthless, working jobs that could have been hired for prior to enrolling, and struggling to pay back a crippling debt. Extensive investigations have revealed deception of some of the worst actors. But this morning, the Department of Education announced $6.1 billion in student loan discharges for 317,000 students who attended the art institutes. 317,000, including Lakeisha. In Illinois alone, nearly 13,000 students will see more than $250 million in borrower defense charges. discharges. In its investigation, the department found that the art institutes misrepresented their employment rates to the prospective students. Imagine, if you will, a student with a family that has never had anyone go to college, knows just in the vaguest terms what they're getting into. Send their daughter to sign up and enroll in one of these colleges. She says, "Mom and Dad, I had to sign up for student loans. It's the only way I could have gone to school." They think to themselves, well, maybe that's the sacrifice people make to get a college degree that ends up with a good paying job. It turns out it's a phony operation from start to finish. Falsified income data for graduates and denying career services to the graduates. They learn, unfortunately, years after they get the debt started, that they have a worthless investment. The department found similar and deceptive practices at other for-profit colleges like DeVry. DeVry in Chicago promoted false job placement rates. Grand Canyon University, sounds impressive, right? Lied to students about the cost of its programs. The Obama administration started to require accountability measures, but under the Trump administration and Secretary DeVos, lapdogs were replaced by watchdogs. Then Secretary of Education Betsy DeVos hired top officials who'd worked for the for-profit industry. It's a long past time that we hold these profit-hungry, fraudulent institutions accountable. What rankles me the most, Mr. President, is the fact that these students are not only the victims with student debt up to their ears, who have to change their life's plans, their career plans because of this indebtedness and the fact that their degrees are virtually worthless. I've met some of these young people. They sadly tell the story of living in their parents' basement because they had no alternative with the debt they'd incurred at these worthless for-profit schools. That's the reality. And the sad part, the tragic part, the infuriating part, is that the owners of these for-profit operations take all that money from student loans, offer nothing in return by way of education, and eventually when they go bankrupt, and they virtually all do, they end up off the hook. They don't have any personal liability. I've been calling for greater scrutiny of for-profit colleges for more than 10 years on the floor of the Senate. Aside from flying in the face of providing high-quality post-secondary education, these for-profit colleges are costing taxpayers millions of dollars. Despite well-documented misconduct, for-profit colleges receive more than $14 billion in federal student aid in the 2022-2023 school year. $14 billion from the federal government. That's why today I'm once again sending a warning letter. It's the 11th consecutive year in a row. I send it to every high school in my state, asking them to ensure students receive accurate information about the college they want to attend, including the risks associated with attending a for-profit college. I wondered when I first sent that letter out whether anybody would even open the envelope, and if they did, whether it meant anything. It's amazing. These schools tell me, thank you for doing this. It's a reminder, and we put it right in front of the students and say, the senator sends a letter each year to warn us about these schools. Be careful. These for-profit schools undermine all of the work and resources high schools devote to students, and warnings to avoid them can be the difference between a successful future and one saddled with a lifetime of student debt. I urge my colleagues, join me in sending a letter to the high schools in your state, warning kids who are being inundated with advertising about for-profit schools that they may not be making the right decision if they head in that direction. It is long past time that we hold for-profits accountable for the pain they're inflicting on our kids. They are exploiting our students and enriching themselves. Let's make sure that no young person gets conned into attending a duplicitous profit-driven institution. What percentage of high school graduates end up at for-profit colleges? That's right, 8%. And what percentage of the student loans are students from for-profit colleges? Student loan defaults? 30%. 8 and 30. Those two numbers tell the story. I yield the floor.